Are you kidding me, people? Are we seriously sitting here getting all worked up over Kangana Ranaut's emergency and Anubhav Sinha's IC-814, debating whether these portrayals are historically accurate, or worse, whether they're anti-national or too woke, or whatever today's buzzword is? All this while Manipur burns?
The state has been fractured along ethnic lines after clashes between Meiteis and Kukis broke out in May last year.
We have drones, yes, actual drones, not some sci-fi movie prop dropping bombs on civilians in our own country. Ethnic violence between the Meitei and Kuki communities has spiraled out of control. It's reached the point where insurgent groups are using tech that would make any defense analyst lose his And what are we talking about? Whether a movie star nailed her history or if a Netflix show on a decades-old hijacking gives India a bad name. Are we out of our collective minds? The government seems to have selective amnesia when it comes to real issues like this. Why isn't Home Ministry making drones in Manipur the emergency matter that it deserves to be? Why aren't we hearing about the thousands displaced and the hundreds killed with the same intensity that we're debating Netflix's disclaimer policies? When drones drop bombs in a state and the state responds with vague promises of monitoring the situation, it's not just incompetence, it's gross negligence. And don't even get me started on the big names who appear on TV every day. These self-styled patriots, these shrill talking heads, they lose their minds at the drop of a Bollywood dialogue, but they treat Manipur like it's some irrelevant footnote. One 10-second scroll at the bottom of the screen while the real debate is about how IC-814 is an attack on Indian pride. You're joking, right? How about we focus on the fact that insurgent groups in Manipur are getting their hands on high-tech weapons and drones that can drop bombs on civilians? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Drones aren't as sexy as a Twitter fight over cinema. Opinion makers, you guys are just as bad. The think pieces, the Twitter threads, where are they? Oh right, you're busy dissecting Kangana's every word as if it's the second coming of the Mahabharata. We have 60,000 people displaced, a state turning into a war zone, and you're all content writing about how emergency will impact national discourse. Guess what? It won't matter how many films Kangana makes or how many Netflix series Anubhav Sinha directs if you continue ignoring actual conflicts tearing apart India from the inside. In this episode, I'll break down what's truly happening in Manipur, why it's happening, and why we should all be paying attention to this. I'm Manish Adhikari, and you're watching First Things Fast.
As improvised explosive devices and grenades were dropped from drones in two recent attacks. The Manipur government has condemned these attacks, attributing them to suspected Kuki militants and warning of severe consequences.
Before the drone attacks began, Manipur was embroiled in a severe ethnic conflict primarily between two communities, the Meiteis and the Kuki-Zo tribes. The violence started in May 2023. It stemmed from long-standing tensions between these groups. Bones of contention, land rights, political representation, and the demand for ST status by the Meitei community. In late August this year, the situation took an even more alarming turn. Manipuris began facing drone attacks. These drones aren't just for surveillance, they are actually carrying explosives and targeting areas where civilians live. The big question is, who's behind it? It is so far speculated that these attacks are being carried out by militants from rival ethnic groups, and it's making an already bad situation even worse. Now, why drones? Military-grade drones designed for surveillance and combat are aircraft that are operated remotely without a human pilot on board. I'm guessing you knew that already, which means they can cause a lot of damage without putting the attackers in danger. So far, there have been several casualties, 2 killed and 12 injured, including one journalist. Authorities have locked down the areas that were hit, but there's still a lot of fear. The local police and central forces are working hard to find out where these drones are coming from, but it's proving to be a tough job.
The state government dispatched teams not only to provide security to villagers, but also ordered a cordon and search operation. Even as cordon and search operations were underway, there were reports of a second drone terror strike.
So what's the government doing about all this? They've sent more paramilitary forces to Manipur. These forces are teaming up with the local intelligence agencies to track down the groups behind these attacks. Manipur's chief minister has called these attacks acts of terror and promised that they'll do whatever it takes to bring back peace.
We are committed to protect the life and property of our peoples. Long-term grievances of communities will also be suitably addressed in due course in consultation with the people and their representative organizations.
There's also talk about the union government in Delhi looking into some advanced anti-drone tech, but that's going to take some time to roll out. Until then, unfortunately, the people of Manipur are still at risk. The state in northeast India also shares a 1643-kilometer long border with Myanmar, which has played a significant role in the escalation of the conflict. Myanmar's proximity allegedly facilitated the influx of arms and ammunition into the region, aggravating the violence when it originally began.
A large consignment of weapons reached Manipur via Myanmar, according to intelligence sources.
Many reports from security agencies and local sources have talked about a noticeable increase in the smuggling of weapons from Myanmar into Manipur. The rugged terrain along the border makes it difficult for security forces to monitor. They struggle to control these illegal activities, allowing militant groups to acquire arms and intensify their attacks.
There is arson happening, there is loot happening, and there is ethnic violence happening between different communities. And the Indian Army is right now trying its level best to evacuate people in time and to provide relief to these people.
The unrest has severely affected the local economy, particularly in the Imphal Valley and the hill districts. It has deepened the divide between the Meitei and the Kuki-Zo communities. But now let's zoom out a bit. Let's look at why these drone attacks are such a big deal. We've seen this kind of thing in places like Gaza, Israel and Iran. Drones have become a go-to weapon in those conflicts, causing huge damage and killing many civilians. And now we're seeing it happen in Manipur, right here in India. In Gaza and Israel, for instance, drones are often used for targeted strikes, but they also end up hurting innocent people. In Iran, they're used against military targets, which has only made things more intense and complicated. During the Nagorno-Karabakh war, for instance, Azerbaijan used a combination of drones and artillery to bomb Armenia's high-value military assets. Imagine this happening in Manipur now.
2 consecutive days in Imphal West has left 2 dead and several injured. The Manipur government is pinning the blame on Kuki militants, while a high-level committee has been formed to probe these drone attacks. The question is whether the northeastern state be able to limp back to normalcy.
Manipur is not some distant, forgettable pocket of violence. It's not a backdrop for your favorite TV debates or a trivia fact for pub quizzes. It's real. It's burning. And drones are the new players in this game. Wake up, India.